welcome all our viewers from the famous Dalal Street, and with me I have the man of the moment, Mr. Ashish Chauhan, the longest serving MD and CEO, if I can recall, in the last 20 years of BSE. How do you feel, Ashish, standing on the other side of the ring? I believe that in the last 5-7 years, you must have helped listing of around 1,000 companies. Now you're on the other side, and now we can ask you questions.
No, it's fine. One has to go through the process, and one must. Basically, everyone is equal in front of the law, and even BSE, which is on the other side, usually also should stand in the front and be answerable.
The thing is, if someone remembers stock market, it's BSE. The birth of stock market, people say it happened, when BSE came into existence. Is it a nostalgic moment for you now, since BSE is, going into, having its IPO?
Yeah, it is. For almost all of us who have been associated with stock markets for more than 20 years, all of us would remember so many incidents, so many things, including the famous Rajabai Tower near Oval Maidan, which is basically in Mumbai University. And you will, basically it was actually donated by a stockbroker in 1866.
Lovely.
So it's even before the BSE was officially set up. And so Premchand Roychand, who set up BSE, one of the founders of BSE, donated a very large clock tower to Bombay University in 1866, 9 years before BSE was set up. And that's practically now more than 150 years old. So that's what basically, in a sense, Mumbai, Bombay,
exactly.
The stock exchange had a very, very big role to play.
I think that is the reason why we have, BSE in Bombay and not in, say, Calcutta, Delhi or other metro city, right?
And basically, although Calcutta used to be the capital of British India, somehow the stock markets developed here, which is very strange. When I look back, it happened out of the cotton trading, and it had some genesis in the US Civil War. And when it kind of started, cotton started moving from here to Manchester, and that's how a lot of speculation started, and then that kind of flowed into creation of new companies, markets, and if some portion of, say, Back Bay Reclamation you heard of in Mumbai,
yes.
Even there was a company called Back Bay Reclamation Company in BSE listed, and it raised funds to create Back Bay Reclamation. So many of the Indian large initiatives actually were funded from this place.
Lovely. That's a wonderful history, Ashish. But we have to talk about IPO, and the one question which is going in everyone's mind is, and I have to ask you straight up, how can BSE grow its market share in the cash and F&O segment, because that's a critical segment for an exchange earnings. It hasn't happened in the past, in the last 5-10 years, but how much are you confident? Can that change going ahead or not?
See, for me, many times all of us think that Olympics has only one race, which is 100 meters. And we keep on harping on that, and we forget that there is badminton, there is wrestling, there is boxing, there is swimming. And so stock markets' purpose is not only for trading. Stock market's main purpose is price signaling. Assets which are listed on in a stock market, actually the prices that happen, they give you price signal. Second is raising of funds, which is actually the most important activity for any exchange, especially for the country. Although the profitability may be due to trading volumes, but if you raise funds, you are very relevant. Okay. Today, BSE has 5,500, close to 5,500 stocks, and that shows you that largest amount of funds raised, even over last few years, have been by BSE only. Although we may not trade as much, we raise more funds, we provide more investment activities. So if you say mutual fund distribution, we are the largest mutual fund distribution platform. If you see bond distribution, last 7 months we have raised 1,35,000 crore of bonds, or corporate bonds. IPOs, we raise more IPOs. And so for me, it's important to understand that, and the revenue frameworks of each business, each exchange may be different. So you may be impressed by some exchanges, say trading volumes, and that's why they get trading revenues, but then they are more volatile also.
No, so am I right to understand that going ahead, BSE will not try to concentrate more on the cash and F&O, but will concentrate more on other segments of revenues, which is a commodity, currency exchange, or the gift, what you are planning?
So BSE will concentrate equally on all segments, and wherever it gets market share, but its focus has always been to get funds for India. It didn't focus too much on speculative activities. It was more on investments, but it should also try to get something on speculative. So what has happened is over last 3 years, 2013 and BSE was 0% in currencies.
Yes.
Today it's around 39%. And so similarly, interest rate derivatives.
Segments small when I compare to the the transactions in terms of cash and F&O segment?
Why not? But they are growing. So if you were say standing in year 2000 and you are talking to me like this, would you have ever thought that derivatives will be so much larger? The newer segments, they grow up slowly. It's like a child, you know. While a grown-up person won't grow so much. So when you look at now, it is actually the past. When you look future, then you can realize how many things actually are possible.
So which are the segments where you stand hugely bullish on? Whether that international exchange in the GIFT City, that one, the commodities, the currencies, the debt market instruments, the mutual funds. Where do you see the maximum revenue generation will happen for BSE going ahead?
For us, basically, we worry more about how do we become relevant to the society, how do we remain relevant to the society, and there investments is a large sort of framework. That's where we are more bullish on, say, IPOs, we are more bullish on, say, bond distribution, mutual fund distribution, not only for our sake, of course, we have to also generate adequate profits, but largely because it helps, and basically it helps society raise funds, and that's where sort of our job is to raise funds for the various corporates and so on and so forth. And then, of course, IPO listings is a mainstay for BSE, unlike other exchanges. And so listing is a very, very important thing. IPOs are very important to us. And then trading. We have already got some good headway into currencies, interest rates. People know our technology, that it has become pretty much best in class from the world standards. Our costs are very low. So slowly, people are now sort of waking up to the idea. And what we have done over last week, not many people have discussed, is that we have now started trading in GIFT City on an index called Sensex 50.
Oh, you already started that?
Yes.
Go to the bull, the bull is there.
And Sensex 50 has suddenly started getting traction in GIFT City. It's early days, it's few days, people are getting still into the game, but I think Sensex 50 has a kind of a great future. So overall, we have kind of lost out, or we did not participate in the speculative game. We focused more on investments for last 15 years. But I think speculative game seems to be the most exciting, especially for televisions. And so we need to, I think, focus on speculative game also, just to get the TRP, if nothing else. And that's how probably we'll focus that there also.
Okay, I'll talk about the financials now, and I'll break it up into 2 or 3 parts. Let's start with the top line, okay? The top line, if I just see in the last, 5 or 6 years, has grown at a compounded annual growth rate of 7-8%, okay? That's not the greatest of the numbers we can expect from an exchange. What is your anticipation with all what you said, all the initiatives what you're taking? Can we see in the next 3, 4, 5 years? I'm not talking about a quarterly terms, but how much what do you anticipate in terms of the top line growth in the next few years?
Yeah, for me it's very difficult to predict because it's an exchange. As a regulator also, we don't try to predict. Our main focus is always on compliance. But if you look back on our top line, what were the things that were happening? We were trying to restructure ourselves in many ways. We had basically a clearing corporation to be set up, so we had to shift a lot of funds into clearing corporation. It became a separate company. On top of that, a large portion of our revenues were actually from interest income earned on our own funds. And what happened is we had to sort of give back almost 300 crores to our brokers, because we brought down the deposit rate from 1 crore to 10 lakhs for membership. And also the interest rates in India went down almost by 4-5% over last 4-5 years. And so that it came down. But what happened is, interestingly, our operating income, that is on listings, on transaction charges, on depositories, on data dissemination, all other things actually started going up. So although traditional reasons would have suggested that the total revenues would have actually gone down, instead it went up. And although the overall top line looks smaller, it increasing at a lesser rate than what it should have. And that's how I would rather explain.
So again, continuing the same thing what you said, even if there was an increase in terms of top line by 19% in the last 4-5 years, but the EBITDA margins have come down from 62% to 50%, and even the PAT margins have gone down from 30% to 19%. So I'm not talking about anything futuristic, but what could be the reasons of fall in terms of EBITDA margins and PAT?
See, one of the reasons why we actually went down in EBITDA margin and also PAT is because there were regulatory charges we had to actually put in. There was
Settlement funds and all.
basically 25% of profit had to go to a settlement guarantee fund for several years. On top of that, the depository services, which is our subsidiary, had to also put in 25% of its own profits towards investor protection fund. So some of these issues have been resolved in this year alone. Even then, in first 4 months of this year, we have provided for 20 crores for that itself. Similarly, we were also running a framework called LEAPS for generating interest in the or liquidity in the derivatives segment of the equity side, and there also we are spending large sums, and that's why our profits were subdued. But now if you say go forward, in the first half of this year, we have already made a profit after tax of 104 crores. I think.
So when you say it is resolved, that means going ahead no longer you have to contribute to the settlement guarantee funds. That means a saving of nearly 40-50 crores.
Currently, it looks like that basically we have provided adequate, and the regulation itself has changed August this year onwards. So we don't have to provide 25% of profits at all. So from August onwards, we have stopped providing. But then the first quarter we had to provide fully. The next quarter we had to provide up to August. And so only for September we have not provided.
So that means even the top line grows by whatever the consistent rate of the last 4-5 years. Correct. But you will save in terms of the expenses which are going into the settlement guarantee fund, and the regulatory expenses will come down.
And also what we try to do is whatever we earn, our balance sheet is large. We have enough adequate funds for next 5 to 10 years to handle our projects. We tend to pay out most of our income in form of the dividend, and so we are generally one of the higher dividend paying companies.
80-90% dividend payout is quite a sum. Okay, but don't go anywhere, because we still have a lot to ask Mr. Ashish Chauhan. We'll catch both of you will catch you after a short break.